Ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to this review / potential rant. I say potential, I might get angry and start ranting about it in a couple of minutes. On the 1993 Doctor Who 30th Anniversary Children in Need minisode special, Dimensions in Time minisode. It's a two mini episodes, a 7-minute episode and a 5-minute episode. Broadcast as part of Noel's house party for children in need in 1993, and also serving as a unofficial crossover with Eastenders. So, yeah, before we begin, a little brief history about the 30th anniversary. There were some plans for a big 30th anniversary special, such as The Dark Dimensions or Lost in the Dark Dimension, to be made for the 30th anniversary of Doctor Who. They also had the 30 Years in the TARDIS documentary, which would broadcast after this, and we're going to take a look at that next, as the the extended edition, More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, which came out on video the next year. And I think the BBC did approach John Nathan Turner for a Children Need special after plans for the after the 30th anniversary feature special was dropped. So John Nathan Turner was approached by Children in Need to make a Doctor Who Children in Need special, and I suppose he thought it would be a good idea to cross it over with EastEnders. It also turned out to be a good idea to show it as. It also turned out it was being shown as part of Noel's house party instead of the main Children in Need lineup, like the 5 Doctors, which is funny because the 5 Doctors is 90 minutes, and well, I don't know how Children Need work back in its early days in the early 80s, but certainly nowadays you could probably only get a 10-minute segment in at most. Look at the Children Need specials we've got nowadays. Same for the comic relief specials. You can only get 10 minutes at the most, and that's your slot for a modern Children Need special, and you just have to put the episode maybe on the Saturday. So yeah, I'm not sure how Children Need worked in the earlier days when it was getting started, but nowadays you only have probably 10 minutes at most for your Doctor Who for a Doctor Who minisode. I think they're usually about 7 or 8 minutes now. Anyway, but okay, so Noel Edmonds, who now most famous for being the host of Deal or No Deal on Channel 4. Excuse me. He used to have this show called Noel's House Party, which he hosted with a famous character called Mr. Blobby. And if you've seen the 5 Who fans videos or listened to their audios, the Mr. Blobby, or a Blobotron, as they call him in the fictional universe, where the Blobotrons are a Doctor Who monster. And I think they've even got the costume as well. The Mr. Blobby comes from here. There's even a Noel Edmonds Mr. Blobby's crossover audio in the Dynamite Doctor era. It's a very violent one, by the way. Check it out if you're over the age of. I would say 12, but maybe you should make sure you're 15, maybe 13 or 14. Yeah, I would say if you're over the age of 13 or 14. Another thing that was happening with this particular Children in Need was that the BBC had decided to make everything in 3D for this period of time. So this particular Doctor Who minisode specials were going to be in 3D, which meant the camera has to be constantly moving, because this is the early days of 3D, where you just don't convert it to 3D, or you film it in 3D cameras. Well, they probably did, but the cameras will have to keep. In this case, I think the cameras have to keep moving so that they can convert it to 3D. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more because it does affect 2D as well. Okay, starting off, I'm also going to include some segments with Noel. At the start, we see him introducing John Pertwee into his house, and John Pertwee sort of roasts Noel a few times. It's very funny, and it's great to see John Pertwee back. I mean, apart from his scenes for the fan film Devious, this is the last time we're going to see John Pertwee before his sad passing in 1996, just a few days before the TV movie aired. So it's great to see John Pertwee one last time, excluding the Devious fan film bits. Hopefully, because that fan film seems to be, or at least last year, they finished an episode of that fan film, so they seem to be slowly progressing into finishing that fan film. But John Pertwee's bits were done, and they are on the War Games DVD. as a bonus feature, so I do recommend checking those out. But besides that, this and Dimensions in. But besides that, this and the Noel's house party bits here are. That's the last of John Pert we're gonna see. Oh, and also the audio, the devious CNC films they're going to use in the Big Finish audio Zagreus. Anyway, so John Pertwee sits down with Noel to watch episode 1 of Dimensions in Time. We get a pre-title scene for this episode, and we see that the Rani has got herself a rug in her TARDIS, and it looks a lot more like the Seventh Doctor's TARDIS. However, straight off the bat, you start asking questions as the Rani's near this sort of wormhole thing, and she's got herself a companion, and there's these 3D model heads of the Doctors, which apparently from behind the scenes were actual models that they float around. They were probably on some blue screen and then added in, and it looks really awkward. And the lighting, I don't know if it's because of the 3D transference or something, but it just looks very pink and it's difficult to see a little bit. But Kate O'Mara is once again fantastic as the Rani. For the third time, fantastic. It's a shame this is also her last appearance. Anyway, she and her henchman, companion guy, I guess it's because the Doctor has companions and the Master occasionally takes a companion under his wing. The Rani decides to get a companion for this adventure. So they're all there. Well, she's basically laughing about how the Doctors are going to be helpless. Then we get to the titles, which is basically the McCoy titles, but sped up quite a bit. I mean, to be honest, the McCoy titles, they are some of the longer ones of the classic series titles. But it's gone a bit mental here. And there's a brand new theme by Cyberhead or Cyberpunk. And again, I know the McCoy theme takes a bit of time to get to the point, but God, oh God, I'm starting to appreciate Dominic Glenn's theme even more now. I mean, I appreciated it more thanks to Big Finish, but now I'm appreciating it even more now. That's the Trial of a Time Lord theme, by the way. So, but Cyberpunk, I'm glad it was only used for these 2 episodes. God. And also, more to the point, John Nathan Turner himself writes this episode alongside Eastenders writer David Roden, probably for the Eastenders bits. Then we get new footage with Tom Baker, and for some reason he's in this kind of blue screen studio bit, and he's wearing his season 18 scarf. I guess he just wasn't that up for being involved in this bit. He might have been upset due to the fact that he was going to be a bigger role in the planned 30th anniversary special, but then that got cancelled and he got relegated to smaller parts, so he's probably annoyed. So they stuck. They probably had to they just got him in for a day or two to record this one scene in this small room with what looks to be a blue screen behind him, and it's got some of this weird stuff, and there's also a microphone in there. I don't know what this place is supposed to be. What's worse is that they use archive footage of this scene at the very end of this scene later on in part 2. They can't even get they couldn't even film a second scene with Tom Baker. He was just here for this one scene. And he's very depressed. Maybe it's his costume, but at least lights up a little bit. Maybe it's his story purposes, or maybe the direction didn't really help. But yeah, Tom Baker just doesn't look happy to be here. Like I said, maybe he got upset that he got relegated to a smaller part, as he was originally going to be the main star of the originally planned 30th anniversary special. Anyway, moving on, we see that the Rani's companion and her have collected specimens from across the universe, and they're going to use it for some science experiments, but she wants the Doctor out of the way because he would get interference, so she knocks the TARDIS off course and sends the 7th Doctor and Ace to Cutty Sark, Greenwich. This is before Cutty Sark caught fire in 2001, and they had to rebuild it and put it into the brand new glass casing. So anyway, they arrive at Cutty Sark, and then stuff starts getting confusing as the Doctor's steam starts swapping between each different incarnations from 3, 5, 6, and 7. Yep. And companions keep swapping over the courses of the first 7 Doctors' companions. So the next one we see is 6. He joins Ace, and now they've transferred to Albert Square. So this is where the EastEnders crossover starts. And they start talking to EastEnders characters about stuff, and they also start realizing that they're jumping time, as they landed in 1973. Now they're in 1993, and then the next change is to the Third Doctor and Mel. And to be honest, I actually have to say this is probably the best on-screen portrayal of Mel, and Bonnie Langford's best performance as Mel on screen. Literally, she had 6 stories in season 23 and 24, and it's Dimensions in Time that is the best on-screen portrayal of Mel, and Bonnie Langford's best on-screen performance. Like I said, Big Finish, even better. But on screen, Dimensions in Time is the best Mel story. How does that happen? How? She had 6 stories in the official show, and it's Dimensions in Time where she's at her best, or at least annoying at the very least. And she and the Third Doctor arrive in 2013. Also, this bit proves that Dimensions in Time is not canon to the EastEnders timeline, as the characters have passed away or left in the course of the 20 years between 1993 and 2013. As for Doctor Who continuity, it's still up for debate, I suppose. But you got the famous bit where the Doctor goes, "Madam, what year is it?" And the 2 ladies he's talking to respond with 2013. So that's now become a meme. It's almost as before London 1965. It was probably one of the most famous classic series memes, and now I suppose it's the second most notable classic series meme after London 1965. What the fuck? Oh boy. Anyway, next we move to, I think it's the 6th Doctor and Susan. I think it's back in 73 or 93, I'm not sure. And Susan's wondering where Ian and Barbara are, where her Doctor is. So this is at the point where companions of the first 2 Doctors also pop in to say hello. And then we get to Sarah Jane in 2013, and she eventually finds her way to the Third Doctor. Whether this is Sarah Jane during the Third Doctor, the Fourth Doctor, or post-Fourth Doctor travels is uncertain, but it's great to see Elizabeth Sladen back again. And to be honest, I think Sladen is the best, despite what I said about Mel and Bonnie Langford a few minutes ago, and Sophie Aldred being amazing as Ace once again, or Ace as Ace. Honestly, Elizabeth Sladen's probably the best companion. Elizabeth Sladen's the best companion actress in this episode, in this special, and as she falls back into the Sarah Jane role very easily once again. But then again, Sarah Jane is one of the best companions of all time, so it makes a lot of sense that she's the best one in this special, after K9. But even better than Ace in this special, which is surprising. I also have to say, I think Mel is better than Susan, which is not something I would say in the usual show, but for this story, yes. Anyway, after this, the Rani realises, damn, they're getting too close! So she and the companion release some specimens, and and now we got a couple of monsters, whether they're villains or whether they're good, like the dragon from Dragonfire, for example. And also this little creature from The Ultimate Adventure, apparently the stage play from 1989, with first John Pertwee, then David Banks, who previously played Cyber Leader, and then Colin Baker. But yeah, here they just throw lots of monsters such as a Cyberman, a Time Lord, a Draconian, an Ogron, and we get to see Fifi from Happiness Patrol, a couple of other creatures. There was apparently supposed to be Dalek, but those scenes were cut due to rights issues, though you can see the Dalek in promotional material, promotional pictures, I should say. And these monsters start attacking the 5th Doctor, Nyssa, and Perry, who seem to be teaming up together for some reason. Anyway, they start running off and enter the square. By the way, there's this funny bit where in her review, Dimmy Looming does a funny edit where we kind of see the 5th Doctor and Perry kind of making love a little bit. It's a very funny edit. What's even funnier is that Nis is watching on in a kind of disbelief. Anyway, the Rani then reveals herself, so you weren't going to keep that mystery of who's behind all this from going for much longer. And then we end on the titles. Also, again, Dimmy puts in the EastEnders music and titles as a bit of a joke, because you know what, it would actually be very funny if they had done that in the original broadcast, if they had put the EastEnders ending in just a little bit, just the dun, 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 and or at least that piece of the music, and then go into the end theme. That'd be funny. Anyway, to wrap up the Noel bits for episode 1, he says it was fantastic. Well, if you think that was fantastic, wait till you get to the 50th anniversary. That's also in 3D as well. You just have to go to the cinema for that. Or wait till the Blu-ray comes out and get a 3D telly and some glasses. Anyway, Noel then tells the audience that they can then vote for who can help the Doctor in part 2, and he's given these EastEnders characters, and he's given the options of Mandy or Big Ron, and whoever wins will help the Doctor in part 2. When we come to part 2, it's just Noel on his own, no John Pertwee, but he does, by the looks of it, Noel is trying to cosplay the 6th Doctor from the 2 Doctors, by the looks of it. And he gets really excited about the winner of the call-in and see who you'd want to be as helping out in the next episode. He's getting really excited about that. It's revealed that Mandy won the vote, so Big Ron scenes of the story were cut due to the fact that, well, they filmed both, I suppose, and they cut the one that didn't win. They didn't use the one that didn't win. Or they used the edit of the one they didn't win. So we then we then get into part 2, which pretty much starts straight away. No pre-title scene, makes sense. The Rani orders the companions to come with her, but the Doctor manages to have a trick up his sleeve and turn him into the 3rd Doctor with Liz. Again, this will probably be her last on-screen appearance. This is probably the last on-screen appearance for most of the companions, by the sound of it. Liz tries to take her chances, but her chances seem to be I don't know what she's doing. She's trying to escape the Rani. The Rani wants her over there, so she runs towards the Rani and then sort of gets captured. I'm not sure. What is your plan, Liz? And then Mandy and her friends pop up and tell one of them to leave each other alone. So I'm not sure whether, on this rewatch, I wasn't certain whether she was talking to Liz, telling her to leave the Rani alone because she thinks she was attacking her, or she's telling the Rani to leave Liz alone because she's kind of forcing her to go with her or something. I'm not sure what's going on here. And then the Rani points a gun at Mandy, so she and her friend run off, and that's it. That's it for Mandy. So all that hype about Mandy, or Big Ron, if he had one, all that hype was for this. All that hype. The hell? You hyped this up? No. I wonder if he was disappointed as well. We don't really see it at the very end. It just stops. We don't really see Noel's reaction. Anyway, once that's happened, Mike Yates comes to the 3rd Doctor's rescue and takes him on board Bessie. I didn't notice if it was saying Who 7 like in Battlefield or if it was back to Who 1. And he takes him to the Greenwich, and he takes him to meet a unit helicopter where Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, okay, I take it back, he's the best companion of this story. He's waiting with the helicopter, and they take him to the Greenwich Naval College, or the former Naval College that was on the site of Greenwich Palace. And this is the only on-screen scene featuring the 6th Doctor meeting the Brigadier. The Brigadier gets to interact with the 6th Doctor for a nice, tantalising couple of seconds. It's nice. I mean, because of the helicopter spinning weird, you could you just about make out the audio. But it's nice to see these two on screen once at long last. It's nice to see these two on screen at long last, and it's great to see them interacting. Of course, the 6th Doctor would meet the Brigadier properly in the Big Finish audio, The Spectre of Langton Moor, with the 8th Doctor following, I think that was 2000, and the 8th Doctor's one, the Minute in Hell, which I've heard in 2001. And of course, 9 and 10 would meet the Brigadier in the comics. Eventually, Rani decides to set her course for Greenwich, where they were, although whether EastEnders, I don't think EastEnders is set in Greenwich, I think it's Walford. And then the next scene is, oh boy, this next scene, I don't like this next scene, it's just, it's now because it's a Doctor Who story. For me, I don't really like it focusing on the Eastenders stuff that much. Apart from it was kind of fun interacting them earlier in part 1. It was fun going to Albert Square, but here it's just these two blokes that Dimmy called the two Sontarans in her review. I don't know if they were the two Sontaran actors in Two Doctors and Fixed for Sontarans, but they're just here and they're coming to one of their garages, and Romana, played by Lala Ward, so this is Romana 2. Romana 1, Mary Tam turned it down, as did Janet Fielding's Tegan, and another companion, Joe Grant, Katie Manning, and Fraser Hines, who plays Jamie, wasn't available as he was working on another soap, Emmerdale, for ITV. Anyway, so the two Sontarans, as Dimmy calls them, find Romana 2 in their garage, and Romana 2's just sitting behind a car. What are you doing, Romana? She claims she's looking for the Doctor. You're not gonna find him in the garage, and you're not gonna find him sitting down behind the car. And if you didn't mean to be trespassing, then why are you sitting down behind the car? No wonder they're a bit annoyed. The guys are a bit annoyed when they find her. Anyway, she just leaves, and goes to Albert Square, where the Rani kidnaps her. The Rani obviously doesn't know that she's a time lady, not a human. And I think Frank Busher is the character who touches his nose, makes a witty comment about people being dragged into the Queen Vic. And then also, stupidly, the Third Doctor and Victoria are on Cutty Sark. Wait, weren't they at the Naval College just a few minutes ago? Cutty Sark's a bit to the west. Not sure. I think this scene should have felt more like it was supposed to be earlier in this episode. But they then get to the TARDIS, and then they travel to, I think, to the Maritime Museum. Just a little bit off the road to the Naval College. Why did they go to the Naval College if the TARDIS was at Cutty Sark? Or couldn't they have brought the TARDIS to the Naval College or the Maritime Museum? Anyway, we've had quite a Third Doctor in this story as well. I guess John Pertwee was more than up for it, I guess. I mean, maybe some of them were supposed to be Fourth Doctor scenes. But as Tom Baker wasn't around, John Pertwee volunteered to film some. Then again, I think we should have a bit more 5 and 7. I think we got some good 6 moments, though. But I think we should have had a bit more 5 and or 7. We get quite a lot of 3, and whilst I'm happy with John Pertwee is getting to milk as many scenes as he can before he sadly passes away 3 years later, there isn't enough time for 5 or 7 to shine. 6 gets a couple of nice scenes. He got his Brigadier moment as well. But I think 5 and 7 could have had a few more scenes. 7 only gets... 7 gets most of the ending, to be honest, actually. Maybe 5 could have had a bit more stuff to do. He really only gets 1 scene and a contact bit as well. Anyway... So, the 7th Doctor turns up at the Maritime Museum, and Leela pops up from the Rani's TARDIS, having been released. The Doctor realises the only way that they can stop the Rani is to see if she's got a companion who is not human, and Leela reveals that it was Romana she cloned, so that the Doctor is then able to stop her, and he has help from Ace, surprisingly in this bit, and that she doesn't transform back at the end, and K9 to help try and trap the Rani in the trap she set for him by using 2 time brains in the TARDIS to cause a problem, and they do that, basically. The Doctor calls on his other selves to help, so 3, 4 in his archive footage, and 5, I think we get the audio from 6, I'm not sure, but we don't see his clip for some reason. And then eventually the Doctors are able to stop the Rani. They release the first 2 Doctors, and the Rani and the companion, I guess, get sucked into the trap, and the Doctor and Ace have a bit of a laugh about it whilst taking the equipment back into the TARDIS, and that's the end. Oh boy, dimensions in time. What the hell is this? Oh god. You know, just running down that plot in the last 20 minutes is basically just they basically just pointed out all the bad stuff in there. Okay, this is a very stupid plot. Camera work, I was supposed to talk about that, and this is especially apparent in that bit with Leela. The camera is constantly moving, and it's also apparent in the bits with the 7th Doctor and Ace arrive at Cutty Sark. The camera is constantly moving for most of these scenes, and that's so they can generate the 3D effect. However, for 2D, it's very awkward, especially when it's just going round and round the 7th Doctor and Leela. Not in a cool way like in the Avengers or Brave, but just awkwardly. Okay. Some dodgy visual effects. I mean, some of them are looking pretty cool, like the gun effects from the monsters, but the CGI for the Rani's TARDIS and the trap thing and Tom Baker's wherever he is, it looks really weak. I know this is supposed to be charity, supposed to be 2 short episodes, but Jesus, and plot doesn't make any sense. The characters keep swapping locations, even if they're like with the Maritime Museum. The 6th Doctor could have gone from the Naval College to the Maritime Museum without a problem, and UNIT could have brought the TARDIS along. But somehow he then got back to Cutty Sark, and Victoria was there for some reason, even though Romana was in the TARDIS. I don't know how Victoria's there. Again, maybe it should have been something that was supposed to be earlier on in the episode. Or maybe they just had to squeeze a Victoria scene in, so they just had a contrived way of getting back to the TARDIS. Oh boy. Yeah, it's terrible. Bad story. It's enjoyable, but it's stupid. Story's stupid. Actors, bless them, do a great job, especially Bonnie Langford, who is far superior in this story to pretty much most of her official TV stories with 6 and 7 in season 23. You get the 6th Doctor meeting the Brigadier on-screen appear. You get the only on-screen appearance of the 6th Doctor meeting the Brigadier. You got Elizabeth Sladen settling back into the role again, which is it's always great. But not everyone does a great job. I think Lana Ward's a bit bored doing this. I think she was a bit bored with her scenes. I don't know what they were doing with Leela. I don't know what that costume is supposed to be. I mean, I don't think they want to show her scantily leather costume for a children needs special. But what the heck is that costume they do have her in? And the hair thing, what have they done to her? Susan and Victoria are actually slightly annoying in this one, especially Victoria in her few scenes. And what was Liz's plan to take her chances? Was she gonna? What was her plan? And Perry and Nissa pretty much do nothing. So yeah, I don't know what the point was having. I mean, one of them being there could have been okay, but the other one, yeah. Oh, apart from the bits where the 5th Doctor runs up behind Perry and they both kind of have a little bit of a movement that Dimmy turned into that kind of funny bit where it looked like the 5th Doctor and Perry were having some fun. And Nissa was looking on kind of shocked and humorous or something. But apart from that, apart from giving us that, apart from giving Dimmy the footage to make that edit, they don't do anything. But that edit is really funny though. And as for Ace, it's great to see Sophie Aldred again, and she is the most recent companion. But again, she doesn't really get much to do. Then again, neither did Sarah Jane. But at least it's great to see both of them on screen again. And Mike Yates, I'm not sure why he's there. I don't even know why he's back at UNIT, because he got fired after he turned traitor he retired, I should say, after he turned traitor in Invasion of the Dinosaurs and sought redemption throughout Planet Spy, and sought redemption at the Tibetan monastery in Planet of Fire. So I was saying that after his redemption in Planet of Spiders, they invited him back to help the Doctor in this adventure. I mean, in the 5 Doctors, it made sense because it could have been a point, it was a Phantom of the Past, and it could have been of when Mike was at UNIT. But here, not really sure how it makes sense. It would have been better if Benton had come back, or if Mike wasn't wearing his UNIT costume, if he was just helping the Brigadier out for a favour or something. Oh boy. Okay. The idea to cross over it with EastEnders sounds like a good idea on paper, and there are some fun bits, but it doesn't completely work, such as the 2 Sontarans, quote-unquote, bits. That's just pointless. And I don't think they use it to their advantage. They're just running around talking to EastEnders characters. But you could go off and explore other parts of the square, or other parts of the EastEnders set. Or talk to other characters. But it feels like pointless, to be honest. It feels pointless. It was just some sort of way to get Easters in for their children needs segment as well as the Doctor Who bit. Oh boy. Yeah. At least Kate O'Mara is again loving her role as the Rani. She's once again amazing. Like every time I see Kate O'Mara in Doctor Who, she's amazing. As the Rani. So she puts all her effort in, and the companion, he's all right. It's okay. I mean, a bit more screen time, he probably would have been okay. But I think he could have been okay with him absent. I don't think the Rani could have needed him. She could have done this all herself. Okay. Yes, and also the whole bit with Mandy and or Big Ron helping the Doctor. Yeah, it was just that one bit, and it was pretty pointless. It was some sort of way to get the audience involved, but yeah, either one or the other was just going to air, depending on who the audience wanted, and so they just released the one that they chose, Mandy. But other than that, they didn't really actually contribute to actually solving the plot. It was just that one scene. It was just that one scene, and they hardly did anything. I mean, they sort of let Liz out of the Rani's grip, but that's about it. And I don't even know if ever they were just trying to save Liz, or if they were just trying to stop her from attacking the Rani or something. I don't know. It's not made second. It's not made clear. Again, I suppose maybe it's too short. Maybe if this was a 10-minute episode, 2 10-minute episodes, they could have expanded it a little bit. But nope, 7 and 5. So it's a 12-minute story in whole, 17 with the Noel Edmonds bits. But yeah, it doesn't work. So I was going to give this a story of 5, but actually I'm going to lower it to a 4. So I'm going to give Dimensions in Time a 4 out of 10. Not very good. I can see why this one's gotten a reputation over the years for being a very bad Doctor Who story. Not surprised, not fucking surprised. I did have some fun moments with it, but it was still stupid. Yeah, sadly no one got paid for this because it was for charity and all the fees for cast and crew went to charity, which means this story can't be rebroadcast, or it can't be released on visual media. So there's no DVD release. The cover being used at the start of this video and at the end of the Search Out Space video and in the rankings, it's a fan made cover. It's not the real DVD cover. It's just fan made, like some of the missing episode stories ones. They're fan made, and also Curse of the Fatal Death coming up has got a fan made cover I'll be using as a picture. So this story has not got an official release, not even on the Survival DVD. It's not got an official release. It's only available on YouTube. So if you can find it on YouTube, there's also a special edition version that's about 21 minutes. Have to recheck that out at some point. You can also find the story without the Noel Edmonds bits. But the best version to get is the version with Noel Edmonds, and you can see his segments as well, including the John Pertwee roasts at the very start. And also him getting very excited about the audience choosing who they want to help the Doctor, and getting very excited about it being Mandy. Probably would get excited about it being Big Ron if it was him who won. So anyway, that's it from Dimensions in Time. Tune in next time where I'll be reviewing a much better 30th anniversary present, the documentary 30 Years in the TARDIS, which aired a few days after Dimensions in Time, and then a few days later got a BFI screen with an extra couple minutes. It was 50 minutes for the broadcast version. BFI one was a 10 minutes, so I think it was more 30 Years in the TARDIS. Then when it was released on video in 1994, it got an extended edition, rounding it up to 90 minutes, and it was renamed More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, which is what you can get on the 2013 DVD. So tune in next time for More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. But extremely amazing quality writing and audio, but it's a very good one as well. Check it out if you're over the age of 12, maybe 15, if you're squeamish. Check it out if you're over the age of, I would say 15, maybe. Okay. So, okay, so 3D. Okay, so starting off, and I'm gonna, and John Pertwee delivers a couple of what are they called? Roasts. Oh, and also the DV's clips. They're going to use the sound of. But that's basic. So, yeah, but then again, I think Sarah Jane, after Ace, is probably the best companion in the story, full stops. Well, but then again, after Ace, I think Sarah Jane's the best classic companion, full stops. Well, excluding K9. And, fucking bastard. But to be fair, there you go. Anyway, oh, bloody hell. Well, if you think that was fantastic, wait till the... And this is the only on-screen appearance you're going to see the Brigadier with the 6th Doctor. As we get to see the Brigadier... The Doctor realises that... She mentioned the first 2 incarnations of the Doctor are freed. Not in a cool way like in the Avengers. And not in a cool way like in the Invest. And so I'm going to give Dimensions in Time a 4 out of 10. The docudrama, and then in 1994, when it was released on video, it got a 90-minute extended, and then when it was released in 1994, and you can get on DVD in the 21st